Hello, hello. Welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, episode 66, coming at you live here on Facebook, YouTube, and CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. I'm Soups. Glad to be with you on this lovely Tuesday evening. Guess what? We get to talk about an FC Cincinnati win. Hooray! They get the win over Bethlehem Steel over the weekend in a rain-soaked affair. We'll talk about that. And, of course, we've got some Open Cup games to discuss. We've got some upcoming matches to discuss. And we're going to be joined by Kevin McCloskey. He's the color analyst on the television and radio broadcast for FC Cincinnati. We'll get his thoughts on the season so far and some of the roster changes that have been made the last few weeks. This episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk is, of course, brought to you by the Cincinnati Dutch Lions. They just had their home opener over the weekend. Make sure you get your tickets today. Log on to cdlfc.com. Glad you're with us again. I'm Subs here with my tag team partners for the week. I'll start with you, Boston Brazil. Boston, how you been, buddy?
Oh, been good. Busy week. We've got lots of articles, been pumping them out. Had a radio interview with Lance McAllister, and just love the way the city's taken off with soccer. I mean, just the fact that we can talk about soccer on the public sports radio. Awesome.
Yeah, you did a good job on the Lance McAllister show this week, so well done. You sounded like you knew what you were talking about, which is a change for once. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I got to pretend. You know, I think I did better on that show than I do on this one, though.
Fake it till you make it. That's the way I live my life, Boston. You did a good job, though. Well done. Let's welcome in Brian Weigel back to the show. Brian, how are you?
Doing well. Got a nice cold beverage on my head. Enjoying, not distracting myself. Got to attend an awesome Cincinnati Dutch Lions match and two awesome FCC wins for the week. So couldn't be happier. And I'm going to be doing a awesome special event with my friend later this week, which we'll talk about more.
Oh, I'm sure that will be coming up. It might involve some colors, which
potentially,
yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. Of course, last but not least,
I was like, yeah.
It wouldn't be an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk without the theme music from my main man, Yosef Sky. Yosef, what's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, we can get into what Ryan's talking about. I mean, down the line or later, but karma comes full circle. It's
damn right it does.
But before we get to that, again, we
Yeah.
just want to remind you, you can support Cincinnati Soccer Talk by logging on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. We don't have an episode captain this week. In fact, it's been a really long time since somebody has worn the armband for an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. You can be that captain by logging on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. So before we get into the result over the weekend, in fact, the Open Cup result from last week, let's talk about that painting up deal. That was, if you follow us on Twitter and on social media, you saw there was a big fundraiser going on for sports games for kids. Brian Weigel, by the way, the team is undefeated when you paint up. You will be painting up again because you hit a threshold. And in fact, our very own Yosef Sagai is also going to be painting up as well. Why don't you fill in the fans on what exactly occurred, Bri?
We're going to try to make it short and sweet, but what happened on Friday night, I was at Chick-fil-A having a great chicken meal with my family, and lo and behold, a gentleman by the name of Logan Miller, I believe, never met him before. He came up to us while we were sitting at our table and said, "Hey, you painting up next week?" So I've been telling my wife about this whole paint up deal, and she didn't believe me. She goes, "Well, maybe we can think about it." So I came up with this idea. I talked to Tom Grabo at Sports Games for Kids, and we came up with an idea. If we raise some money, hit certain thresholds, we would paint up for the week. And lo and behold, we hit 500, I think is what it was in the first hour and a half or so. And so that guaranteed me to paint up. And to encourage more donations, we got Yosef involved. And we did just hit that threshold for Yosef to paint. So Yosef and I are going to have a painting party, and we're gonna be loud and proud and can't wait for this weekend. I don't know if Yosef feels the same way, though.
Sorry, go ahead.
What was the threshold we had to hit to get you painted up, Yosef?
So let me clarify. I never agreed to any of this, but because
crybaby.
Let me go ahead and so since I don't want to put this off for an entire year, or like 7 or 8 months, like, one of my co-hosts may have, I'm just gonna, man up and paint and not just deal with it because, even though it was put on me and I never really agreed to it, much like Brian didn't agree to his previous paint up threshold of 50 iTunes review. I mean, he didn't agree to 25. Anyway, I'm the kind of guy, I'm pretty laid back and I don't like to put things off. I can't say the same for the rest of my co-hosts on the show, maybe one in particular, but I figured I'd knock it out and do it for a good cause.
Can we talk about how I got sucked into this? Like, I'm just minding my own business. We hit $500. I was like, whoa, FC Cincinnati supporters are awesome. We hit $700. I watched Yosef get swept away by the tide of donations, and he's got to paint up. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, Boston's going to paint up for $1,000. And while I want to see kids go to games, and Graybo's doing great things for charity, I'm a little scared. I never lost the winter weight. This body is I don't know, it's not primed for that sun.
You're a radio star now too. You really don't want to be out there giving it your all.
There's a reason you cut me off like right about here. It's just my face.
So is this a done deal? Like if we get to $1,000, you're painting up?
I will do it. Only for Sports Games for Kids and Tom Graybo. Not for you guys. You guys are a bunch of...
All right. So to do that, guys, we need people to donate. And you can go to paypal.me. It's PayPal, PayPal.me/SGFK, Sports Games for Kids. So make sure to get there and to donate.
So we
need what?
So if we
$300?
If we hit... So here's what happened today. Graybo sent out a message that they were like $100 short for Yosef to reach that threshold, and golly, if it wasn't the best $100 I've ever spent. So you're welcome.
Hey, I like to joke, and I'll ridicule Brian at every opportunity, but like honestly, it's just awesome to see that for all those donations come in, and if that's what it takes, I mean, I'm okay with that. People who know me know that like my shame thresholds aren't pretty, below industry standards to say the least. So, I mean, I'm happy to do it, and I really appreciative to you, Nick, to everybody who donated. I don't know if everybody wants to be named, but yeah, thank you so much for that.
I still think we need to put a little pressure on all of us at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. But I don't want to volunteer anybody because I know there's a certain waggle who probably doesn't want to paint up. His name's Brad. He somehow has avoided all of this. I don't know how, but he has.
Because he has a louder twin.
So I'll make you a deal. $1,500 gets me painted up for a game. So there you have it. $1,500 for Sports Games for Kids. Subs will paint up, which is if anything, Tom, don't bring the kids to that game because you're going to scare them right away. All right, so $1,500.
They're gonna have to make a new tifo of you this time with paint on you.
Oh my God!
They don't have enough. There's not enough paint in the world, Boston. Anyway, that link again, Brian. Why don't you give it out?
It's PayPal.me/SGFK. I think Tom also can put it up on our Facebook chat that's going on right now. So if you can do that one more time, he just did. Let's do it.
PayPal.me/SGFK to go donate $1,500. Get subs in some blue, orange, and white paint down at an FC Cincinnati game this year. Of course, fans, we want to hear from you. 513-399-KICK. That's the King's Hammer hotline. You can also hit us up on Twitter as well at Cincy Soccer Talk. That is our Twitter handle. And, of course, we'll be monitoring the Facebook Live chat tonight as well for any fantastic comments by all of you watching us here at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Well, as we mentioned, speaking of King's Hammer, we're joined now on the phone on the King's Hammer hotline by the one and only Kevin McCloskey. He is the color analyst of FC Cincinnati Radio and Television. Kevin, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Just wrapped up Tried, so I finally got my breath back.
Awesome. Well, you were one of the few folks there at Nippert Stadium on Saturday who got to stay dry up in that broadcast booth.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be bizarre in the 90th minute to have that. Even just listening to the broadcast, the sheer amazement coming from your voice at that weather delay at that inopportune time. I mean, that was pretty crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, no, bizarre is definitely the best way to describe it. I think Tommy G and myself were kind of scratching our heads and looking at each other. We have, the challenge of extending the broadcast. And really my heart went out for the players and the staff. I mean, it's got to be very frustrating to be in that position, knowing that you're that close to 3 points and you've kind of got to wait around for the final call. So something different, I'm sure, for everybody involved. I've never seen that before.
Now, I feel bad it's taking us so long to get you on the show, but can you give our listeners a little bit of background how you ended up getting the gig with FC Cincinnati and working with Tommy G?
Sure. Jeff Birding, obviously the general manager and president, contacted me. I've known Jeff for a while. We actually worked together at King's Hammer at one point in time. I'm obviously the men's executive director at King's Hammer. And Jeff had approached me very early into kind of the setup with FC Cincinnati. And he had asked if I'd be interested in kind of looking into the commentating as an analyst. From that, really, Tommy G and myself kind of sat down and talked through some things. And from that point on, it made a lot of sense. It was something that we were both very excited about. And so far, we feel like it's worked out really well.
So I'm always interested to hear someone with real eye on the club. What's your honest take of this club through what's likely the first third of our regular season here?
I think, look, anytime that you have such a positive season and an uplifting season in its first year, expectation levels are high, right? So expectation levels from the fans, obviously internally from the staff, from the ownership group. That's a natural thing. And I think anytime that you go through, in this game at least, you don't produce those results, there's going to be some level of questions or, at times anxiety or even frustration. You also have to really take a step back and look and see the challenge that Alan and the staff had. This is, I don't say a new team, obviously the core returned, but there were a lot of new additions. There was a new person in charge. I think I said this last week on air, actually, they're still in the construction phase of it. I do think from this past Saturday's performance, I think they were very close to kind of get over that hump and over that hill. And yeah, of course, there's things that still need to continue to improve, but I don't think anyone else knows that better than Alan Koch and his coaching staff. I think the biggest thing that I was impressed with on Saturday was kind of fluency in attack. I felt there was a lot of confidence that was back. It reminded me of some of the games from last season. And then obviously, continuing to improve on that defensive shape. So that's where they're at. I think, there's still a lot of time left. There's a lot of games left. Chemistry takes time to build. Obviously, a new approach and a new kind of way of looking at a system takes a little bit of time to implement and obviously to buy into. And I think that's, as I said, from the outside, it's kind of hard to remember that. But anyone that's been involved in sport on the field or in coaching, these are realistic challenges that you've got to face.
Hey, Kevin, this is Boston. Hey, I wanted to know, since you're so inside the club, what's something you see that just makes you pause? I mean, I know you're professional, but something that makes you pause and just go, man, how cool is this? Or a little perk that, might come along with the broadcasting gig.
I think just like the fans, it's every time I step on the field to watch practice, it's awesome. I feel very lucky to be a part of it. As you said, kind of having that opportunity to watch them train on a regular basis. And the broadcast, obviously, it's a great vantage point. For me personally, I think it's watching the stage and obviously playing at Nippert. There's something very, very special about that. And having this level of play in Cincinnati finally, I think it's fantastic. I've been part of a USL franchise in the city before, and it's just I feel not jealous, but it's like, okay, this is 5 levels above what we played at. And I think just to kind of sit back and take that in, I think that's the wow moment for me.
Now, you said you've been at several practices. You've seen most of the home games. Have you noticed any changes recently in the past maybe week or two, or even at practice that make you feel that we're very close to taking a lot of, or maybe going on a good run of wins here?
Yeah, I think that point is, you know, again, you've got to kind of sense it. Soccer's a game of opinions, right? So I think, for me at least, it's seeing a bit more killer instinct. I think I've noticed that in practice. Confidence in attack, I think, is the biggest thing. I think that was the challenge, in my opinion. Again, in the first set of weeks, I didn't see that. You know, I think it was very rigid. I think defensively, you know, there was definitely a game plan, and I think the players were organized on the same page with it. But in my opinion, what was lacking was kind of just that fluid movement in between the lines and attack. You know, that confidence of wanting to try to take players on and you know, they take risks really. And I've noticed that a lot more this past week in practice.
Kevin, this is Joseph here. So we watch this club, you know, on the pitch every week, multiple times a week sometimes. But I wanted to get your take on kind of the overall growth of soccer in Cincinnati, whether it be with the club itself, FC Cincinnati, or just the overall embrace of the beautiful game here. Have you noticed a difference here since, you know, the club picked up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think anybody that's involved in the game on a club level or a university level in this area is kind of benefited from FC Cincinnati coming in. They've definitely brought a buzz. I feel like there's a culture that's starting to develop. You know, for us, selfishly, I obviously oversee a boys and a men's program. I think it's fantastic that these guys have role models to go and watch on Saturdays and Friday nights or whatever. They're going home and, you know, they're wearing their FC Cincinnati shirts. It's been overwhelmingly positive. I think there's probably not a person involved in soccer in the city that would disagree with that. I think the next step, of course, is, in my opinion, getting back to like expectations. I think people have to remain patient with it as well. You know, it's one of those things that every time that you move into this next season, the challenge is going to become greater. And making sure that like the progression it happens over time. It's not going to happen instantly. But I'm sure you guys, I mean, obviously you guys embrace it and you're a big part of it. You see the fans in the city, you see it on the buses and trains, you know, all of that. I mean, it wasn't here 2 years ago, you know, and it's never been here. And I think just the fan support and what it means to the people that are coming in to nip it, I think it's fantastic.
You're involved in both FC Cincinnati and in youth clubs with King's Hammer. Wanted to know, what has FC Cincinnati done for those kids to be able to see professional soccer in the Queen City?
Yeah, I think I alluded to in that last point, but I mean, they get to watch a high level in time, you know, and part of the development of young players is being able to see that. A lot of kids, I obviously grew up in Ireland, and a lot of other kids that grew up in kind of European cities, that was part of culture. You know, you went to watch local teams play, you got to watch professional on TV. But I think watching games live for these kids, I think that is very, very special. How FC Cincinnati have embraced the community as well, I think has been fantastic. I think, you know, obviously Jeff has done a great job and Carl Linder have done a great job of making this our city's team and, you know, product. But for the kids, as I said, it's a very exciting time. I think they watch as much as they can. I think they like being a part of it. And kids, the most important thing is that they have fun with it. And I really think that they feel that excitement.
We're hanging out with Kevin McCloskey. He's the color analyst for FC Cincinnati TV and radio. Kevin, I want to get your thoughts on this because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you had a broadcasting background before getting involved with FC Cincinnati broadcast, but Nippert Stadium, that, you know, when you're up in that press box, it's awfully high up. I've sat up there once for a game, and I don't know how you guys do it each and every week. Talk about the different things you see from that high up that you normally don't see maybe on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, again, I probably think a little bit differently than the average fan. I mean, I look at everything in an analysis type setting where I'm constantly looking at I look at the game as like a chess game, right? And it's like this guy is making this move with the coach as far as the set up the system or formation. And so the vantage point, I think it's great because I get to see that. Up there, if you guys have been up in the booth, obviously we have the TV monitors also, but that doesn't show you the game, And I think for a fan, I got to sit in a game in the stands once last year, and it actually felt very weird. I mean, we're talking about that, but you don't get that vantage point. So for me, it's great. I get to see the systems of play, especially in those transitional moments. I understand the numbers up and numbers down situations. And so it just provides me with a lot more information. As you guys know, obviously, Tommy's fantastic in what he does as well. It is true that I didn't have a broadcasting background before I started. I've been coaching for a long time. So he's really helped as well. And as I said, I think the setup that we have up there, I think it's top notch.
Well, we'll get you out of here on this question, Kev, because I feel like anytime we have a guest on from FC Cincinnati, especially particularly the ones who are new to the region, we always got to ask about Skyline Chili. Now, have you had a chance to enjoy the fine cuisine that is Skyline?
Yeah. So just to give you a bit about, I've been in the States almost 18 years, and I've been in Cincinnati about 12 years. So I'm definitely not that new to this region. And my first meal ever, and this is a true story, I got picked up before I went to the University of Rio Grande. Our coach stopped at the Eastgate Skyline on the way to 32, where Rio Grande is in that direction. And that was my first meal in America, was actually Skyline.
No kidding.
At the time, I had no idea what it was. I had a hot dog with chili and spaghetti. I was like, what is this all about? But since then, it's probably it's one of my weaknesses. So I try to indulge in it. Not too often, but I'm definitely a fan of it.
Oh, that's what we'd love to hear, Kev. Well done. That's awesome. Your first meal in the States was Skyline.
Yeah,
that is pretty darn good. That's the best Skyline store we've had on Cincinnati Soccer Talk, hands down. So awesome stuff.
I can tell you, but I had no idea what was going on. No, I couldn't wrap my head around the whole spaghetti and chili thing, but it's definitely growing on me.
Awesome. Well, Kev, I know you're a busy man with tryouts, everything going on there at King's Hammer. And by the way, I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job on the broadcast. Keep up the great work, and really looking forward to having you back on another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Anytime, guys. Thank you for all your support, all right? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Kev. Appreciate it. That's Kev McCloskey, voice of FC Cincinnati on YouTube, on Star 64, wherever you can find him here in the Queen City. The King's Hammer hotline is open, 513-399-KICK. Before we open up those phone lines, so let's visit with our good pal. Speaking of Skyline, Steve Bernasconi is going to join us now on the King's Hammer hotline. Steve, what's happening?
Not too much, guys. What's going on?
Speaking of Skyline, tell us about your visit with our own Boston Brazil a few weeks ago at Skyline.
Oh, yeah, Boston, he's the man. So I called him at kind of late notice. I was leaving Ottawa, and I needed to catch a flight back home. So I made a long drive over to Cincinnati, hung out with Boston, and when I came back, I think the first meal we grabbed was some Skyline chili. So, yeah, it was my first time indulging in something like that. But I texted him probably just a couple days ago. I was like, man, I am craving some Skyline chili. So I can't wait to get back and have some of that.
Well, I think you're going to be back here in the Queen City here very shortly. First and foremost, give folks out there who aren't familiar with what you do a little bit of information about the soccer tour.
So back in February, I loaded my belongings into a van. I sold off everything else, and I decided to spend 8 months on the road, driving more than 20,000 miles across this beautiful country of ours and Canada. They're pretty beautiful too. And basically the whole purpose of the trip is to just experience as many games as I can at all levels. So we're talking MLS all the way down to, NPSL and some more adult amateur stuff, the women's game as well, and meeting with soccer people everywhere I go, having conversations, learning about their teams, about how they support their teams, the good, the bad, the ugly, and really just trying to gain knowledge and perspective, and just take in as much of this as I can. The sport has really grown over the past 3 years. It's evident in places, especially like Cincinnati, where you guys are just in your second year and you're posting some of the most incredible attendance numbers, I think, ever for a minor league team. And, there's stories like that across the country. So I really wanted to experience them for myself. And in order to do so, I kind of put together this trip that I'm calling the Soccer Tour. And I'm living life on the road. Started in February, and I'm going to go all the way until October.
Hey, Steve, I've really enjoyed getting to know you the last few weeks. And I want to clarify something. Steve didn't just come to my house and I took him to Skyline. He came to my house and said, "What on earth was this picture I saw at the Cincinnati airport with cheese all over spaghetti?" And I was like, "You want to find out? Like, let's go."
Yeah.
And no, it sounds like you're driving right now. So where are you headed?
I'm in Iowa. I don't know why, but I left Minnesota and I was kind of like, I got a few days before I need to get to Cincinnati. I got a game in Grand Rapids the day before, so I was like, is it worth it to go to Cincinnati, drive, 10-hour round Grand Rapids? Let me enjoy the area.
Yeah, you can tell he's in Iowa because we we are certainly losing Steve.
Oh no!
Looks like we got you back. We got you back.
It's bizarre because I go from like one bar and then now I'm on like 5. Like I've got perfect signal according to my phone, but I don't know.
So what's the immediate plans here? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're coming to Cincinnati here soon again, right?
Yeah, I'll be there on. I was going to try to come a few days before the game and then have to leave to go to Grand Rapids and then come back. I'm going to have to change that a little bit. So I'm going to arrive early morning on game day, spend the whole day with you guys. Enjoy the game from the Bailey, do the whole march to the match thing with all the supporters, and then whatever you guys do post game. So, from afar, it seems like you guys have one of the best atmospheres. And, I'm really, really looking forward to getting out there.
Good stuff, Steve. Appreciate you calling in. Safe travels, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I will see you soon.
If folks want to find out more about your soccer tour, where can they find information?
Best place is usually on Twitter. It's just at the Soccer Tour, but that goes for Facebook and Instagram and everything else as well. And then if you want to, read some of the things that I write or watch my videos or my podcasts or anything like that, you just go to thesoccertour.com.
Easy enough. Steve, appreciate the time, buddy. Look forward to catching up with you here again soon.
Yeah, man. I hopefully you guys were able to hear me. Obviously, I am on the road, so not ideal, but I appreciate you guys having me on, and I look forward to meeting you.
All right, Steve, take it easy.
All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.
That's Steve Bernasconi joining us here on the Kings Hammer Hotline. Thesoccertour.com to find out where he's headed around the country, visiting soccer venues all across the United States and Canada. Pretty interesting stuff, thesoccertour.com. Before we take some more phone calls, guys, guess what FC Cincinnati did last week?
They won, Subs.
Well, besides winning, what else did they do in midweek?
I believe they got a Widmer's clean sheet.
Ding, ding.
It actually spurred me. I got really frustrated with the mess around my room, and I threw everything into the Widmer's bag and just let it go. So they did a good job. They, unlike FCC, which, I'm not knocking any of our players, but they did return all of my shirts clean. So that is batting 100%, or I don't know what. Now we're just getting confused and mixing up sports allegory. I'm sorry, but yeah.
So with that clean sheet, hey, just a reminder, go check out widmerscleaners.com to learn more about their fluff and fold laundry service. Our thanks to Widmers for their support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Don't forget the carpet cleaning. Man, they cleaned my carpets perfectly this week, man. These are wonderful looking.
First account there. I like it.
It looks great.
Let's go to the King's Hammer hotline. Our friend Daniel's been on the hold for 25 minutes. He joins us now on the phone. Daniel, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Soups? It's Daniel here. You guys all know who I am. Hey, Joseph, what was with the two girls I saw you with at Keystone the other night?
Oh my God.
So yeah, I really think that Jimmy McLaughlin had a great game, and I really think with an extra week on the team, Daniel Kinnig had a really good run with us. I'm really glad he got the brace. Yeah, did that answer your question?
That's all you wanted, Daniel?
So, no, I had something else. I wanted to get Joseph. I wanted to put Joseph in a blushing moment, but I also wanted to go and say, Soups, what do you think? Well, me and you had a discussion a couple of weeks last week after the Orlando game. Remember the discussion how we should train like MLS referees? What do you guys think about that? Or training them to be MLS ones and they actually do lines or do something on the MLS line to actually be better referees so we can have it, because we're technically MLS too. So this is my idea, and what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, we did have that conversation on Facebook a few weeks ago. Obviously they had a rough night that night you and I chatted, but I would say the last ref we had this past week was actually pretty good. I mean, even Boston mentioned it on the Lance McAllister show on Monday. That was probably the best officiated game we've had in Cincinnati. Gosh, and this goes back to even last year. I thought he did a really good job. But as far as the training goes, of course, they've got to do better, because I actually think the MLS refs aren't great either. So from an officiating standpoint in this country, every league's got to get better, not just MLS. Or not just USL and NASL, but even in MLS. So it's going to take some time, but I agree with you. I think that some of these refs in these lower tier leagues maybe need to be a linesman at MLS. And we even see over in England, some of the officials that ref in the Premier League have to ref championship games every so often. So they're reffing across multiple tiers in this country. Maybe that's something that should be explored as well.
Well, let's remember
That's
too
all I had
that,
for you guys.
All right, Daniel, appreciate the call, buddy.
You're all right. Check you later, guys.
Daniel on the King's Hammer Hotline. You want to add something there, Bri?
well, I was just going to say that to be fair, refs to be fair to USL, refs in the United States aren't affiliated with leagues. They're affiliated with Pro Referee, the organization that basically assigns everybody. So to not throw out misnomers for people that don't know exactly everything, but yeah. So I think that's kind of part of the deal is they do try to get them to USL, to ref a USL match to weed themselves out before they get into MLS. So we're just kind of a proving ground. That's what second division is, and it's kind of the reality that we have to face.
Yep. But there's no question. Every league in this country, as far as soccer goes, they could use some better officials, and I'll just leave it at that. Let's go back to the King's Hammer Hotline. We're joined now on the phone by Jonathan. Jonathan, what's happening?
Hey, boys, it ain't Jonathan. It's your old buddy Bill Gridness. How y'all doing?
How you doing, Bill?
Oh, what's happening, Bill?
Hey, boys, I'm doing great. Hey, I want to start off by apologizing. I haven't called you in a long time, and it's because my phone broke, and it's actually because of my broken phone that I got a great story about Louisville. Y'all want to hear it?
Oh, of course I do.
Excellent. So, here's the deal. Everyone's got a phone they like: iPhone, Android, B phone, C phone, D phone, whatever they need. And I got a cordless phone that I love. I had it for years, inherited from my mom, loved it. Only place you can get that cordless phone is Radio Shack. And as y'all know, Radio Shack is going out of business. So I'm flying on down to Louisville, down the highway, I-71, because Louisville's the only backwards town that's backwards enough that still has 3 open Radio Shacks. And I walk on into this Radio Shack, and you ain't going to believe it. You ain't going to believe who the manager of this Radio Shack is. Y'all know who it was?
I'm going to guess it's somebody at Louisville City FC.
It was that head coach, that lion son of a gun, James O'Connor. I tell you what, boys, Louisville City FC has no money. They are so poor, paying that high rent at a crappy baseball stadium, that James O'Connor has a second job at a Radio Shack. I mean, how embarrassing is that? I go in there, I'm making fun of him for it. He sells me a cordless phone, gets all mad because I don't buy the warranty. I tell him to piss off, man. I didn't have time for that. I get on my way back up. Sure enough, my car breaks down, and I would have called an Uber, but Uber only takes credit cards, and I can't qualify for one. So I use my debit card. I get a Lyft. Guess who my Lyft driver is?
Niall McCabe.
No, James O'Connor. He's got like 3 jobs. Because Louisville City FC doesn't pay crap. Got that high rent. But look, that's a little sidetrack. There is one thing and one thing only on my mind, boys, and I think it's a threat to this team the rest of the season.
And what's that?
Well, sorry, I had to get over that weird, awkward pause. I keep hearing that every now and then. I don't know if it's a ghost or what. But anyways, the main threat to FC Cincinnati is not the USL. It's not the U.S. Communist Cup, as I call it. The main threat to FC Cincinnati is the cicadas. And they're back here early to hear this, boys. Them cicadas are going to be all over Nippert Stadium. I tell you what, you don't got to worry about Jeff Burden getting 52 goals and promising that. Them cicadas going to take care of it for us. And if you think the cicadas are going to be bad for us, just wait till James O'Connor complains about the cicadas.
Oh, you know he will too, Bill.
Oh, Bill, we've missed you, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but he's got that beekeeper suit.
I missed y'all,
He might be
too.
the only person safe.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
yeah, guys, actually, that's a sad story. All of James's bees died. Y'all are referring to that picture of him where he's wearing the beekeeper hat while coaching practice. Well, all them bees died. He lost that job. Now he's having a tough time making ends meet. I tell you what, y'all raise money so y'all can paint up and donate to charity. Donate your money to James O'Connor. Louisville City FC ain't got no money. It's laughable to even think they can build a stadium. Give that money old James. Help him out. He may be a liar, but he needs our help too.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, all right, boys. My mom's home. I gotta go. She's gonna be mad I'm up this late. I'll see you.
See you, Bill.
Oh, my God.
Take care.
See you, Bill.
Much love. God bless.
God bless.
We gotta carry on a show after that.
So great to clarify that the 2 girls that Daniel was referring to met Bill and amongst other characters within the same person, and they were very fond of him, but very confused, as many of our listeners may be. But I always appreciate Bill calling.
That was amazing. Oh, Bill, call in every week, please. That was fantastic. Let's go back to the phones. Oh, my gosh. Yersky, I want you to try and top that if you can, Yersky. What's on your mind?
I can't. I have no words. I don't. For the first time in my life, I have no words.
That is an accomplishment.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say I know we have some listeners. You guys have some listeners in England, and I want to just spread my thoughts to Manchester. What happened last night was completely horrible, and just the thoughts are with them. I know, Subes, you and I are United fans. But first of all, I just want to say thoughts are with them. My question for you guys that I have tonight, it's kind of broad. I want to know what your favorite thing about being an FC Cincinnati fan is. There's a lot of aspects of FC Cincinnati that we all know and love, but I want to know what makes it tick for you. Whether it just be the fact that we have soccer in Cincinnati, whether it be the Bailey, whether it be I'd want to know individually what is your favorite part about being an FC Cincinnati fan?
You're listening to it, buddy. I get to do this. I get to talk to fans and meet fans like you. I mean, that's for me. I don't. As weird as it sounds, of course, I want them to win and I want them to be successful. But for me, it's the experience of meeting fans of soccer in the Queen City that I never knew existed. Or thought could exist. So for me, it's this. I'll throw this out to you guys. I mean, what's your favorite part?
Yeah, I agree. I think the new people that we've got to meet, it's, I've expanded my phone book by about 100 people just because of all the different people got to meet and get to cheer with them every week or two during the summer.
I actually I'll keep it short. My favorite part of this team is that moment when we all hold our breath, like the second goal last week, where we all hold our breath and we're almost sure it's a goal, and then we see that ball just flap in the back of the net, and everybody for that like brief 30 seconds is just, I don't know, one entity, one body, one family. It's awesome. That's the feeling I look for in this team.
The games are amazing. There's nothing else in Cincinnati like them. The supporter groups are probably my favorite part, though. The sense of community. I've met some of the best friends of my life in the last year and a half, and these are guys I'm going to hang out with for a long, long time. And I have a bar with the Innenstadt that is my bar. I can walk in that place. People know who you are. I'm straight out of an episode of Friends now.
You mean Cheers? Cheers would have been a little more appropriate.
Oh, you're right. But no one in our audience knows what Cheers
Friends
is.
works.
I love Cheers.
Friends works.
I love
You got the
Cheers.
cafe, the little coffee shop. That works.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't alive for Cheers. So
How about McLaren's from How I Met Your Mother? That's more age appropriate.
All right, there you go.
there you go. That's much better.
Yersky, appreciate the call, buddy.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Enjoy the game tomorrow too. We're going to bring home a championship.
Absolutely.
All right, take it easy. That's Yersky giving us a ring. Yep, talking about the Europa League final tomorrow between Manchester United and Ajax. I will be tuned into that, of course. Oh man, the phone lines are open. 513-399-KICK. We've got a few more minutes left in the show. Believe it or not, we're about 40 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about the match from Saturday night and last week's Open Cup win. Let's start. We'll talk briefly about the Open Cup game. 120 minutes against a team they probably shouldn't have gone 120 minutes on, but they get to win 1-0, which means they now advance. They take on Louisville City at home, and then if they win that game against Louisville City, they're going to play host to the Columbus Crew. But you got to beat Louisville City first. So, Brian, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts on that Open Cup match?
Well, it shouldn't have gone 120, but thank goodness that Jibby did find the back of the net. I think he had 16 shots in that match, and finally the one went in. So good for them. I did like seeing a couple of the reserves, I guess we can call them that, get some playing time. And the one guy who really stuck out in my mind was Marco Dominguez. I really want to see that guy in a full-speed USL match in the near future.
Yeah, it looked like he, well, I wouldn't know because I didn't get to watch it, but there was a stream put out on Periscope. So for those of you who were fortunate to check that out, especially those who were outside of the region, got a chance to watch it on Periscope. But yeah, 44 shots that FC Cincinnati took that night. They finally got one to go in, which is all that matters, which is all that counts. It was even good. I mean, Jibby got 120 minutes. Which makes up for all the minutes he's missed over the last month due to his suspension. Still not eligible to play, but that suspension will be coming up here real soon, thankfully. They certainly miss his goals. But again, the advance, they'll take on Louisville City in an Open Cup match coming up here. I believe it's next week or very soon. So check that out.
Buy your tickets. Get them now when you can. Bailey seats are open. And also, I heard they might be doing some beer specials for that game. So if there's even more incentive to go.
So get your tickets over at fccincinnati.com. And then, of course, on Saturday night, FC Cincinnati, they finally knock off Bethlehem Steel 2-1. Danny Koenig, newcomer to FC Cincinnati, scores a brace, gets 2 goals, and FC Cincinnati finally get 3 points over their rivals from Pennsylvania. They get the 2-1 win in a game that was called officially right around 10:45 after a lengthy rain/weather delay. The delay actually lasted longer than the match itself. But the good guys get the win, Josef. I know you're pretty happy about that.
Yeah, it was a stark turn from kind of the feelings. I mean, no, we got the win on Wednesday, but it's really nice to see kind of a rebound, especially against a team that has had our number for the past 2 matches. And I think with a lot of games at home in front of us, it'll be a great time to gain some momentum. And I don't know if the soccer gods love us or hate us, and I'm not looking further than Louisville until we beat Louisville, but having that game lined up and then potentially having Columbus at home, if that win is in place, with Jibby Fall eligible to play against Louisville, it just seems like it's building a lot of great storylines for us. And I think it's going to get this city excited. And I think that win would have been nice if they could have just made it kind of a clean cut and didn't have to wait 2 hours to call the game. But I mean, it's what they needed to get a jump start here for us. And it's going to be a very interesting turn of the season. And I think this is, I may have said it last week, but this is the part of the season that's really going to define where we can finish, whether we can even have a shot at a home playoff game.
Well, Bethlehem Steel was becoming a really frustrating team to play, almost like Charleston. When we went into this match, I was frustrated. Orlando City loss was really bothering me, and I knew we needed to turn a corner, and this was a statement win, in my opinion. Not only do we beat a team that's already beat us twice, which gives that team confidence, I think you really put yourself on a good path now for the rest of May and early June, while you still have a couple of these two teams. Toronto, we definitely need to pick up 3 points against Toronto, and then go into the summer months where we play Tampa Bay again, Louisville again, is strong. We need to have confidence. We need to have chemistry going into those games.
Yeah, before we dive into that Toronto matchup a little bit later on, Brian, why don't you bring us up to speed on some player updates that FC Cincinnati have announced since the last time we were in your earbuds?
Well, this is actually breaking news through Pat Brennan, through the Inquirer, is that Justin Hoyt is cleared good to go for this Saturday's match for FC Cincinnati. So that's exciting. He said Kenny Walker is very, very close as well. So we'll see how that goes. So you may see some changes going to this week. I know a lot of people have been rooting for some consistency among the team, but interested to see if we will see England and Trinidad and Tobago player.
That is good news. He's played all of 12 minutes this year. Got injured early on in that first Bethlehem Steel match. So it's good to have him back. Feels like it's been forever since we've seen him play, but good to have him fully cleared. Another note, too, the Christian Martinez loan deal is now a full season loan deal for FC Cincinnati from the Columbus Crew, with the stipulation that he can be called back to the Crew at any time. Fill us in on that, Bri.
Yeah, that's something that we kind of speculated when we first signed. It made more sense for him to be competing down here at FC Cincinnati for playing time, because he's going to get significantly more playing time, I would think, with FC Cincinnati over Columbus Crew. There's just a logjam in those winger and central midfield positions. So I think it makes sense. And people were up in arms about it this week with him coming back to FC Cincinnati. I think you could actually see him this Saturday versus Toronto FC2, because some guys, Coach Koch might be, or maybe resting for that midweek match. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him. Also, I'm not sure exactly what the stipulations are with him competing in the Open Cup against, for FC Cincinnati, because he would be, I guess, tied if we would see him play with Columbus. So, but I'm still excited to see what we need, and we can discuss that a little bit later. I know we have a listener question I wanted to talk about here with his prowess maybe in the attacking third.
And finally, some other notes. We saw this today from the Cincinnati Business Courier. There was some breaking, well, maybe not breaking news, but Carl Lindner III kind of dropping the hint that they're looking for some more investors, that there are going to be some more investors to the team in the hopes of attracting MLS. Fill us in on that.
Well, it just makes more sense to get more clout in the city. If you can get more people that have the funds, you have maybe more options to get better sites. Of course, more money to pay the expansion fee and to maybe have a better financial outlook on that stadium. So I'm always up for strengthening the group when you have such a big investment. Potentially, $300-400 million you're talking about if you get a quality stadium. So I'm glad that we're not stagnant and we're trying to make ourselves better in the eyes of MLS.
I'll include the link to the article in this week's show notes over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com if you want to read what the Cincinnati Business Courier had to say about the investors joining the Lindners here at FC Cincinnati. Before we dive into our Growler Cup, just a reminder, you can download March to Match Day. Subscribe to the Cincinnati Soccer Talk podcast on iTunes or wherever you can find podcasts. You'll automatically get March to Match Day. Brian's going to be previewing this week's opponent, Toronto FC2, who comes into this game with just one win on the season. This might be the perfect opponent for FC Cincinnati to face. And then, of course, Toronto's probably thinking the same thing. Maybe this is our best shot to take on the mighty men in orange and blue. So check out March Match Day. Brian will preview the opponents a little more in depth this week. Brian, who are you visiting with?
It's actually just going to be me, myself, and I this week going to cover Toronto. So it's a little bit more difficult to get a hold of those guys considering they have like 5 matches this week.
Yeah, they play tomorrow.
They play tonight too. Tuesday they play. So they played Friday. I'm talking about both clubs, TFC2 and Toronto, because they have the Canadian Championship tonight. So they might be pulling some of those players for that game as well. So busy people covering them right now.
They lost on Friday night at Tampa Bay 3-1. They take on Richmond tomorrow at noon, and then they'll be in the Queen City over the weekend. So they're a busy club, no question about it. So maybe, again, this is a good time for FC Cincinnati, as Boston was saying earlier. You got to start racking up 3 points in these matches, in these winnable matches, while the schedule is a little bit more relaxed for FC Cincinnati. So Brian will preview that match a little bit closer on March to Match Day, so make sure you go download it over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com or get subscribed to our podcast, wherever podcasts can be found. All right, let's do a little Growler Cup predictions, shall we? Yosef, what's going on with the standings, man? Who's in first?
I don't want to reveal it. I feel like we should save that for the article, only because there were a lot of people who picked 2-1 and a lot of people who picked a win. And I want everyone to kind of see the shakeup but it's not you, Nick, if that's your question.
Oh, I know I'm not in first place. There's no question. I finally got one right. I got the 2-1 right. But yeah, I know I'm
well, yeah, because you copied off me.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so that's going to go up a little bit later on in the week, Yosef?
Yeah, we'll know the Growler Cup predictions will come out on Friday for our staff here, as well as with some updated standings, and so you can see, because as fans of the team normally do, we're all very excited and hoping for a win, and much like most of us on this podcast have been leaning towards wins. It's nice to see the team win, and also nice because that's when we see the biggest shakeups in the standings. So we will be able to get the kind of the update on that on Friday. And it's also a good place to look because if you want to submit your scores a little bit later in the week after you listen to the show or after you see our flaming hot takes on that, be a good time here. So.
All right, so let's do a little predictions. FC Cincinnati playing host to Toronto FC2 over the weekend, in a game in which Brian Weigel and Yosef Sagai will be painted up. Proud of you guys. They're undefeated when you're painted up, Brian. So why don't we start with you? Give us your Growler Cup prediction for this weekend.
Ooh, well, I always got into a bad spot last year when I picked 3 goals for FC Cincinnati. But I feel like we got a shot this week. They're not extremely strong defensively. They take a lot of risks, especially with their 3-5-2 formation. So I'm going to actually say a 3-0 Widmer's clean sheet to FC Cincinnati.
I like it. Going out on a limb. Good. So
shaking it up.
Brian's going for a 3-0. How about you, Yosef?
So, as was alluded to on the show earlier from one of our callers, I did go to Keystone. And when I went to Keystone, I actually ordered the poutine. And I actually didn't get to finish it at the restaurant because it was so hot. It's actually going to be not quite as hot as this hot take in that I think it's going to be a bunker down team that is going to try to hold us off, but they will be broken down. I agree with Bry that they will not score on us, but I think FC Cincinnati will come out with a 2-0 victory here.
All right. Joseph is going for a 2-0. How about you, Boston?
Well, Subs, I think I'm going to go with a 2-1. I don't think I've picked a 2-1 this year. I watched Toronto and Tampa Bay play last week. It was a great game. Toronto came out strong. They kicked a rocket of a goal from way outside the box. Tampa Bay's goalkeeper could do nothing to stop it. It was just a perfect shot. And then after they went ahead, they bunkered down, and Tampa Bay took their sweet time breaking them down. But once they did, it was just goal, 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 like 3 unanswered. I think you're going to see something similar. I think Toronto scores first. FC Cincinnati puts up 2-1.
All right. Last but not least, I'm going to go, for some reason in USL play this year, they're still struggling to keep clean sheets. Obviously, they gave up the penalty kick goal over the weekend. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think they're going to score some goals. I think Koenig's kind of he's gotten it going this last week with the 2 goals. So I'm going to go for a 3-1. I'd like to see them keep the clean sheet, but I don't know. I don't see it happening. I'm going to play the law of averages here and go with a 3-1 result. Of course, we'd love to hear from you. And if you want to join us on the Growler Cup competition, you absolutely can. Got to give a big shout out to Steven Starkey. Steven's been calling in each and every week the last 2 weeks. Surprisingly, he hasn't called in this week. But Steven is the most recent, the most recent person to join the Growler Cup competition. He went over to our website and supported Cincinnati Soccer Talk over at cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. You can do it as well and help support us here at our website. Before we get to our final thoughts, we do have one final question. This was a listener submitted question via email. This is from Jaime. Jaime asks, is anyone concerned that the only position we seem to score from is the number 9, being the striker? Good question, Jaime. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
My thought is I'm a little bit scared because that is a very valid point, but I think we've seen a lot of play from our, at least from McLaughlin, that shows me that there is some hope to be had. And I really think, there aren't a lot of people who scare me with the ball at their feet on this squad necessarily as much as the collective play of the team, that I think they can generate some goals. And if it ends with a 9 being targeted and getting that final last touch in the net, that's good for me. But it's certainly something that's been recognized.
Yes, it does scare me. But I think it's more so the product of our personnel and how a coach really, really relies on that number 9 player. I think the reason he does that is because he's not confident enough in our wing play or in some of our midfielders. You look at GB and Koenig, and they finish at a 30% clip so far this season. I know it's a small sample size for both those players, but if you can capitalize on 30% of your shots, that's amazing, considering Acoli did about 20% last year. But when you really look at some of the midfielders, of course, Wiedemann hasn't scored yet. He capitalized 9% of his chances last year. Jimmy's same on course is 2016 at 7%, and Quinn this year's only at 8% compared to 11% of last year. And then you bring in the right winger and Kadeen Dakers, who in his time at Louisville averaged a 5% clip to finish. So I think that might be just more of a personnel versus, or maybe how he's set up versus really expecting some of those players to score a little bit more, if you understand. But I think we do need somebody else and maybe a number 10 role, and maybe Kenny Walker or Joe Sue or maybe even Hoyt can help create some more chances for those guys to finish versus having Jimmy have to burn up the left wing all the time.
Eric Turner on Facebook said, I'm not worried. That's what the number 9 is supposed to do.
All right. Thanks for the question, Jaime. We appreciate it. You can email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, and we'll read your questions here on an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It's about that time, gentlemen. Final thoughts as we begin to wrap up episode 66. I'll start with you, Boston. I am digging the shirt you're wearing. Why don't you fill folks in on what exactly you got going on with the Dutch Lions?
That's pretty exciting. The Cincinnati Dutch Lions reached out to me last Friday and asked me to come on board and run their social media, take charge of the game day, and make sure the fans can stay in touch with the team as they play. I'm really excited to do it. It was a lot of fun, and you'll see me running that account for many, many games in the future.
Just remember, make sure you're looking at the right Twitter account before you tweet.
If Cincinnati Soccer Talk starts tweeting out the score, I did something wrong.
Well, no, I mean, we're okay to we would be more than happy to update. I'm just more like talking about from Boston Brazel's personal Boston Key Twitter account. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no one follows that account. We'll never get anywhere if I do that.
Well, congrats on the new gig, and when are you going to get me some free tickets?
Oh man, I thought you were going to ask for free swag. Like, check out this shirt; it is amazing.
I would love. I would never turn down free swag, Boston.
Well, I think you'll take the swag over the tickets because the games are actually pretty affordable. I think you can get in for like $5 to $7.
Plus, I'd like to think I'm considered members of the media, so I might be able to just get some sort of credential, but I would be more than happy to buy a ticket. You're right. Very affordable. You were a season ticket holder before you even got the gig, right?
Yeah, I think I overpaid now. Like, you think I get a refund?
Probably not. Good stuff, Boston. We appreciate all you do for us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Thank you, Subs.
All right, let's move on now to Brian Weigel. Final thoughts?
Echo the sentiments on the Dutch Lions home opener this week. Was awesome. Good crowd considering it was raining like literally till 5 minutes before game time. So good stuff there. And then, just if you haven't yet or you're on the fence about it, get your tickets for the Louisville match, the U.S. Open Cup match. That's a big deal for the club to, of course, advance over your rival in an important cup match, but also have that potential to host Columbus Crew SC. I don't want to focus on the future, but get out there and do it. Now, if you're a little wary on the fence, maybe you had the $30 tickets midfield and you had 7 of them and it's $200 or whatever to attend, and you say you're not going to do it. Well, no, reconsider. At least try to do the GA or something. Just get to the match, show your support, be there in person. So I'd encourage y'all to do that if you can, and invite your friends.
Yeah, it should be a good match, and if we win, we've got the Crew coming to town. I mean, that's no bigger game of the season than that, right?
No doubt. That would be incredible. But as I said, I think I got yelled at when I wrote a story this week, just basically telling people how important this match was. So, yeah, just show up and maybe good things can happen. We can play the Crew.
Good stuff as always, Bri. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Joseph Sagai.
I think we covered it all pretty well today, and it's been a good show. Thanks again to Bill for calling in. Now, I just want to point out for the record and for down the line, you guys can't see, we have a Slack page for Cincinnati Soccer Talk and we message each other pretty much constantly. Just want to let you know, there is still a donate link out there. It's in our Facebook chat, and I'm sure we'll be reposting it both through our Cincinnati Soccer Talk page, and it's on Sports Games for Kids and through Cincy Superfan. But I just want to point out, how long did it take me to agree to paint up when that $700 donation limit was reached?
That's pretty quick.
Was it pretty quick?
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
So
you cried the 12 hours before we hit it.
Was it within the day? We say. Brian, I'm just pointing out that I agreed to it pretty quick, even though there's no formal agreement, just because I'm for the cause, and I'm hoping that my fellow co-hosts will do the same when we hit 1,000 before the weekend.
Ooh.
So
I got the paint. For him.
I'm not looking at you, Boston, but I'm looking at you, and Brad, if you're listening, I'm looking at you too.
Yeah, and I said I would do it
$999.
I said I would do it at $1,500. So, PayPal.me/SGFK to donate. If we get to $1,500, yours truly will paint up for a match this summer. So make sure you go and donate to a good cause. Sports Games for Kids. Tom Grabo does a fantastic job with that. That's my final thought as well. Joseph, appreciate all that you do for the show. You're the man.
Right back at you.
And congrats to Liverpool getting in the top 4.
I know. That was a stressful day. But it was a good, 6 points in 24 hours. I'll take that every day of the week.
And time to move on. I don't want to talk about that anymore. All right. Just a reminder, you can download our show. We're a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, anywhere podcasts can be found. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to support the show, rate and review the show on iTunes, you can. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes. You can also support the show each and every week, or each and every month, I should say, by subscribing and being a supporter of our show over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. A little bit goes a long way and helps us here on the show. For those of you who are watching the live show, you can tell we've been having some issues with the stream the last few weeks. And it's becoming very, very clear to me that some upgrades are necessary to make this a more watchable experience. I know we are an audio podcast first and foremost, but I also want to provide a really good stream to those of you who tune in each and every week. You deserve it. And we're certainly going to be working on that. So a little bit does go a long way. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Again, make sure you check out March to Match Day. Brian's going to be previewing the upcoming match against Toronto FC 2. That's going to do it for episode 66. I want you to all have a fantastic, safe, hopefully dry Memorial Day this weekend. Forecast doesn't look so great where I am up here in Northwest Ohio. Hopefully it stays dry down at Nippert Stadium this weekend for the guys who will be painted up this weekend. So for Boston Brazel, Joseph Sagai, and Brian Weigel, I'm Subs, reminding you to watch your tackles. We'll see you next week.